When you spend 10 years building a marriage, you start to believe you've seen every side of your partner. The laughter, the anger, the quiet moments that feel like home. But I was wrong. The night I truly met the woman my wife had become, it wasn't in an argument or a confession. It was in a living room filled with laughter that didn't belong to me. It was a Friday night. My wife, Claire, had invited a few of her coworkers over for drinks after their quarterly meeting. I was happy to host, cooked some food, set the table, and made sure the wine was chilled. Among them was her friend, Emily, tall, confident, the kind of woman who spoke her mind without hesitation. I'd met her a few times before. She was charming, but always a bit too observant. The evening started light. Stories from work, harmless teasing, the usual. I sat at the edge of the group, smiling at the right moments, laughing when something was actually funny. Then, somewhere between the second glass of wine and a harmless game of truth or dare, the mood shifted. Emily was dared to share her secret crush from the room. She smirked, glanced my way, and said, "Well, if Claire ever gets tired of her husband, I wouldn't mind taking him." Laughter erupted. Everyone found it hilarious. Everyone except me. Claire leaned forward, her eyes gleaming with mischief, and said, "Oh, please, take him for a week. Maybe he'll finally learn how to listen." The room roared. It was meant to be a joke, I suppose, but something in her tone, casual, dismissive, cut deeper than she realized. I smiled, pretending it didn't bother me. Inside, though, something cracked. Emily's laughter faded first. She looked at me and then at Claire, like she wasn't sure how to respond. "Be careful what you offer," she joked, trying to lighten the moment. But the damage was already done. That night, after everyone left, I tried to talk to Claire. She brushed it off. "Oh, come on, Ryan. Don't be so sensitive. It was a joke. A joke." The word echoed in my head long after she'd gone to bed. I lay there beside her, staring at the ceiling, realizing how small I'd started to feel in my own home. It wasn't the first time she'd made me the punchline. It was just the first time I didn't laugh. The next week, Claire got busier. Late nights, new projects, excuses that didn't need checking. I didn't question her. I just started observing quietly. One afternoon, I stopped by her office to surprise her. She wasn't there, but Emily was. She smiled, a little surprised to see me. "She left early," she said. "Said she had some errands." We talked for a few minutes. Small talk, polite, distant. But as I turned to leave, Emily said, "You know, I felt bad about that joke the other night. You didn't deserve that." I shrugged. I'm used to being her punchline. She looked at me for a long moment before saying, "You shouldn't be." That conversation stuck with me. Maybe it was the sincerity in her tone or the way she didn't try to justify my wife's behavior. Maybe it was just the first time in months someone had spoken to me with genuine respect. Over the next few weeks, Emily and I started talking, casually at first, then more often. Nothing inappropriate, nothing secretive. Just two people who understood each other's silences. She'd ask about my work, my hobbies, the things Claire never seemed to care about anymore. And then one evening, while Claire was out with friends, Emily called. She sounded shaken. Something about her own breakup, needing someone to talk to. I hesitated, then went over. We sat on her balcony, the city lights stretching out beneath us. She talked, I listened, and somewhere between her laughter and tears, she looked at me and said softly, "You really do deserve better, Ryan." For the first time in a long while, I believed her. The next morning, I woke up before dawn. Emily was still asleep on the couch, wrapped in a throw blanket. We hadn't crossed any lines, but the night had changed something between us. Something quiet yet undeniable. I left before she woke, driving through streets that felt different, heavier somehow. When I got home, Claire was in the kitchen scrolling through her phone. She looked up, expression blank. "Where were you?" she asked. "Out," I replied. "With who?" I paused, then said evenly, "A friend." For a second, she looked uneasy, but then her usual smirk returned. "Well, I hope she listened to all your boring stories." I smiled faintly. She did. That was the first time Claire didn't know how to answer. She laughed, forced and brittle, then turned away. But something had shifted, she could feel it too. The following days were colder. We spoke less, ate separately, existed like strangers sharing a roof. I stopped waiting for her attention and stopped trying to earn her respect. The moment I realized I didn't need her approval, the power balance changed. One evening, Claire had another small get-together at home. Same circle of friends, same forced laughter, same performative marriage. Emily wasn't invited this time, intentionally, I suspected. I stayed quiet most of the night, nursing a drink while the conversation swirled around me. Then one of the guests joked, "So, Ryan, your wife offering you up again tonight?" The room burst into laughter. But this time, I didn't smile. I set my glass down and said calmly, "Actually, I took her up on that offer." Emily seemed happy to accept. Silence, complete and heavy. Claire's smile froze, color draining from her face. The laughter died right there. Everyone shifted awkwardly, pretending not to notice as I stood, placed my drink in the sink, and walked out. Behind me, I heard her stammering, trying to laugh it off, but the sound was hollow, desperate. That night, I packed a bag and left. Not for drama, not for revenge, but because the joke had gone too far. When someone keeps making you the punchline, you eventually stop showing up for the show. I stayed at a hotel for a few days, unsure of what came next. Emily reached out after hearing what happened. "You actually left?" she asked, half in disbelief. "I did," I said simply. There was a pause. Then she whispered, "Good." Over the next weeks, Claire tried to call, text, even showed up once at my office. She said she'd been just joking, that I was overreacting, that she missed me, but her apologies felt rehearsed, not remorseful. She wasn't sorry for the disrespect, only for the consequences. Meanwhile, Emily and I saw more of each other. Slowly, without the weight of guilt or confusion, we started something real. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about peace, something I hadn't felt in years. Months later, I ran into one of Claire's old coworkers at a cafe. She looked at me, surprised, then said, "You know, she still brings up that night sometimes. She says that's when she realized she'd finally gone too far." I smiled politely, thanked her, and left. Driving home, I thought about how everything had started with laughter. Loud, careless laughter that seemed harmless. But the truth was, every joke hides a piece of truth behind it. Claire's had hidden her contempt. Mine had hidden my patience. The day she joked about giving me away, she didn't realize I'd already been handed over long ago. To indifference, to disrespect, to a version of myself that kept waiting to be seen. When I finally walked away, it wasn't about Emily, or betrayal, or revenge. It was about choosing silence over mockery, dignity over routine. And sometimes, the quietest exits echo the loudest.